on, bro!
Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and today we will be looking at Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, complete film breakdown. Director Destin Cretton's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings created quite the buzz, grossing over $8.8 million on its very first day. This film has broken a record in terms of being the highest grossing film to open on Labor Day, a holiday that is usually not considered beneficial for the film fraternity. The Simu Liu flick has earned every single bit of appreciation that it is being showered on by fans and critics alike, thanks to the amazing fight sequences, cast performances, and some important changes made from the comics. While watching this film, one can't help but remember another beautiful film that Marvel gave us all the way back in 2018. Yes, we are talking about none other than Chadwick Boseman starring in Black Panther. Both films share some very similar characteristics, such as the importance of family dynamics, focusing on a cultural reset in terms of African and Asian representation, as well as a killer soundtrack, second to none in the MCU. While we watched the magical land filled with culture and weaponry like none other, we could not help but think of when we were first introduced to vibranium, and how it played such a key role in the rest of the MCU. So, without further ado, let's dive into what Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings has brought to the table, and what it could mean for the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. Just a word of warning, however, the following video contains heavy spoilers from Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, so we would highly recommend watching this movie before proceeding. Before we get into today's analysis, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small step for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, on with the video. Plot summary. The film opens with actor Fala Chen plays Shang-Chi's mother, Ying Li, narrating the story of Shang-Chi's father, Wen Wu, played by Tony Leung. We see him riding into battle and fighting off an entire army single-handedly, using the power of the Ten Rings, as Li talks about how he used them over and over again through the years to capture and defeat many such armies, and even topple over governments. His conquest was brought to a halt in 1996, when he visits the village Talo to expand his power after hearing about the many mythical creatures and warriors that reside there. He is stopped by Li, and the two engage in a battle that seems less fierce and more like a dance of two lovers, following in the beautiful rhythm of one another. Impressed to meet the first person to have ever defeated him, Wen Wu falls in love with her and gives up the Ten Rings, ready to grow old with his family. Li's villagers object to the marriage, afraid that the doings of Wu's past will one day come back to haunt him and destroy Talo in the process, causing Li to leave behind the village and the Great Protector's magic that was powering her fighting. Wu and Li end up having two children, Shang-Chi, played by Simu Liu, and Chai Ling, played by Menjar Zhang, the former of whom Li is seen to be narrating this story to. She gives the children identical necklaces that they both never take off, even after growing up. Unfortunately, like Li's villagers said, Wu's past did come back to haunt him. On a fateful night when he is out, the Iron Gang murders Li, while a helpless Shang-Chi watches. Feeling regret over having taken the rings off, Wu puts them back on, and takes Shang-Chi with him to a mahjong bar, where he kills each member of the Iron Gang present, except for their leader. Soon after, he begins his son's training, while his daughter is sidelined for the mere reason that she reminds Wu of Li. Shang-Chi's training continues every single day, with the utmost discipline, until he has learned every possible way to kill a man. When he turns 14, Shang-Chi is sent by his father to kill the leader of the Iron Gang and avenge the death of his mother. Although he carries out his father's instructions, the guilt of murder causes him to run away from home, leaving everything, including his sister, behind. Chai Ling spends 6 years waiting for her brother to return, before she gives up hope and she too runs away to Macau, where she starts her own empire of an underground fighting ring. 10 years later, we see Shang-Chi living under the false name of Sean in San Francisco, and working as a valet with his longtime friend and confidant, Katie, played by Awkwafina. The two spend their time engaging in fun activities like karaoke night, and occasionally catching up with their settled-down friends Sue and John, played by Stephanie Hsu and Kunal Dudekar, respectively, as they both tell Katie and Sean to get their lives together and start doing something worthwhile. Amidst all this, it seems that even though he left his father's household and values behind, Shang-Chi continues to work out and train every day to remain fit. Lucky for him, this is put to good use when he faces off against the men sent by Wu to steal his necklace. It is here that we see the epic fight scene ensue between him and Razor Fist, played by Florian Montaño, on a moving bus.
You okay?
He is able to fight them off and save the passengers, while Katie's driving skills are put to some serious use. But he is not able to protect his necklace. Suspecting that the men are headed after his sister next, Shang-Chi takes off to Macau in order to warn her, and Katie tags along after listening to who Sean really is. Using an address on a postcard he believes was sent by Xialing, Shang-Chi arrives to the fight ring that is run by her, not knowing this at the time. Right before it is his turn to go into the cage and fight another fighter, we see Abomination, also known as Emil Blonsky, played by Tim Roth, going up against Wong, played by Benedict Wong. The two characters are famous names from the films The Incredible Hulk and Doctor Strange, respectively, and it seems here that they're even fighting buddies. Soon, it is Shang-Chi's turn to enter the ring, and he is badly defeated by his opponent, who is none other than Chai Ling. When they meet up in her office, they realize that the postcard was actually sent by Wu in order to get his two children together, where he can make them both come back home. Yet another great fight scene is given to us in the moment, as we see the Ten Ring operatives going up against Shang-Chi and his sister as they team up, putting aside their differences. They fight outside the glass walls of the building, with a constant risk of any of them falling straight to their deaths. Finally, Shang-Chi goes up against the Death Dealer, played by Andy Lay, and he is almost able to defeat him, which shows how much he has grown since he was back at the Ten Rings compound, as it was the Death Dealer who would teach him how to fight brutally. All is brought to a halt when Wu himself arrives, taking both his children and Katie back to his compound, and showing them why he took their necklaces. Placing each necklace on an Eye of a Dragon sculpture, Wu opens up a water-bent path, showing the way to enter Tai Lo, so as to rescue their mother, Li. Thinking that their father had lost his mind, the children remind him that Li had died many years ago, and right in front of Shang-Chi. Wu informs them that there is a cave in Tai Lo, from behind whose gates Li had been calling out to him, asking him to save her. He believes that the villagers have been holding her as a prisoner there, as punishment for having married Wu against their wishes. Although Chai Ling and Shang-Chi briefly seem to believe their father, they are quick to call him out when Wu claims that he will burn down the village if they refuse to let Li go. Hearing the dissent, Wu locks up his children and Katie in a cave-like prison, and it is here that they met their fellow prisoner, who is none other than Trevor Slattery, aka the fake Mandarin. He informs them that after his orchestrated breaking out of prison, he was almost killed by Wu, but allowed to live as prisoner when he puts on plays such as Macbeth for his entertainment. Slattery had also made a friend in captivity named Morris, a creature that is made up of brown fur and has shiny blue wings but no face. It is one of the mythical beings that reside in Tai Lo, and was captured by Wu the last time he was there. Morris informs them that it can help them get to Tai Lo without having to wait for the forest path to open up, like it does once a year. Thinking that this will allow them to get there before Wu and warn the villagers of what's coming, Shang-Chi and company break out of prison along with Morris and make their way to Tai Lo. Here they meet Ying Nan, played by the talented Michelle Yeoh, who is Li's sister and the children's aunt. They tell her and the villagers what Wu has planned and how he believes that Li is still alive, and they prepare to defend themselves against the Ten Rings. Meanwhile, Nan tells the kids why Wu believes Li to be alive. Many years ago, the settlers of the village had managed to defeat a great soul-sucking monster with the help of the Great Protector, a dragon whose magic runs through Tai Lo. and even powers their weaponry and fighting. Using the dragon's scales, they managed to build the gate that kept the monsters trapped inside, as they would have the potential to destroy the world if they were ever let out. The same monsters are now calling out to Wu, using his greatest desire because they know that he has the 10 rings, and that they have the power to break down the gate. Shang-Chi asks Nan to teach him his mother's way of fighting, as she was the only one to ever defeat Wu, and she does so, giving him the magic of the dragon, the same way Li once harnessed it. Wu soon arrives along with the 10 rings, and as a visual delight, a battle unfolds between the villagers of Tai Lo, with the guardian lions by their side, and the operatives of the 10 rings. Shang-Chi pursues his father, and the two engage in a fight of their own. When an almost fatal blow lands Shang-Chi deep in the waters, Wu uses the opportunity to start breaking down the gate of the cave, and as the dragon's scales start crumbling, the soul-sucking creatures begin to emerge. Razor Fist and Nan defeat the first of the creatures, and decide that they will only survive if the 10 rings and Tai Lo villagers joined forces, causing them to fight together, while Shang-Chi comes face to face with the Great Protector underwater, and it emerges to fight alongside the humans. Once again, Shang-Chi faces off against his father, and this time he uses the magic-powered fighting that his mother had taught him, and that Nan reminded him of. In a surprising turn of events, he is able to capture the rings from Wu, who had been their wearer for more than 1,000 years, proving just how powerful Shang-Chi is without having any superhuman traits. He defeats Wu, all the while reminding him of how he chose the 10 rings over his children after their mother died, and that it is time for him to come back to his family again, as they need him rather than chase after his delusional obsessions. It seems like Wu does have a change of heart, but it's too late as the giant soul sucker is able to break free of the cave, and the first soul he claims is that of Wen Wu. In his dying moments, he finally chooses his family, as he gives Shang-Chi the 10 rings, nodding to the fact that it is now up to him to defeat the monster. Chai Ling arrives, riding the Great Protector, and saves her brother before the monster can get to him, and the two children fly away into battle as they see their father's soulless corpse, not getting any time to grieve. The villagers and 10 Rings operatives continue to fight against the monsters, while the Great Protector and the Mega Soul Sucker engage in a battle midair. Just as the monster is almost about to overpower the Protector, sucking out its soul, it is Katie and not Shang-Chi who saves the day. Having been in Tai Lo and practiced archery for a day, Katie is able to pierce the monster through its neck with an arrow made of dragon scales, completely killing it and destroying it along with its mini versions. As the film progresses towards its conclusion, we hear that Chai Ling had returned home to dismantle her father's criminal organization, while Katie and Shang-Chi are back with their friends, Sue and John, who they tell their extraordinary tale to. As they struggle to believe a single word of anything that they hear, and in a comedic turn of events, a magic portal appears behind them, and from it emerges Wong from Kamartaj, asking Katie and Shang-Chi to come with him. In the mid-credit scene, we see the three of them trying to understand the nature of the 10 Rings and its origins, with the help of two very well-known Avengers. And in the post-credit scene, we learn that Chai Ling had not dismantled the 10 Rings, and instead taken over it, changing up a few things, such as women fighting alongside men, and street art covering the walls that were once all black.
I'm not here to fight anybody. Okay, I'm looking for my sister, Shang. Never heard of her.
Intricate details throughout the MCU that marked to the leading up to this film. The first trailer of the film had released a few days before the airing of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier's season finale, making fans wonder if there's a connection between the two. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier teased fans heavily with regards to who the power broker might be, and seeing the cage fights in the Shang-Chi trailer, many wondered if the warrior prince had found his way to Madripoor himself. Many theories of this have now been debunked, as the film was confined pretty much entirely on the storyline of Shang-Chi and his family. In its heart, this film is about family and what it means to come from a certain legacy. But as a bonus, we get to peek into the hero's past and how he ended up becoming the fighter that he is today. And let's just say, you do not want to mess with him or his relatives. The film has made some key changes, one of the most prominent being the 10 rings. In the comics, these rings were worn as just that, but here we see them being worn as size-changing bracelets.
It's time for you to take your place by my side.
That's not gonna happen.
The first indication of the existence of the 10 Rings organization was given to us all the way back in Iron Man, the film that is to be thanked for the beginning of the MCU. Beloved hero Tony Stark was kidnapped by a terrorist named Raza, who seemed to be running a faction of the 10 Rings organization. We saw a glimpse of them once again in Iron Man 2, as a man with the 10 Rings neck tattoo was seen giving Vanko the means to get to Tony in order to kill him. In Iron Man 3, we were introduced to the Mandarin, and Marvel revealed him to be nothing more than a joke, an actor named Trevor Slattery, getting pulled into becoming the face of the Mandarin for the world just as he was trying to make a career. For many, the Mandarin being fake was a joke that marked the beginning of a series of similar jokes that Marvel had cruelly pulled on its fans. Remember Ralph Boner? In Ant-Man, we once again see a man with the 10 Rings tattoo trying to buy Pym Tech, proving that they have been lurking in the shadows throughout the entirety of the MCU, collecting weapons from all over and building an empire that we only get to see now in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings. It wasn't until Marvel released its short, named All Hail the King, that we got to know that there is, in fact, a real Mandarin, and he has had enough of hiding in the shadows. We see him send one of his men to break out Slattery from prison, as he would like to meet him. And next time, we would see the actor would be now a prisoner, who acts like the real Mandarin's jester.
The 10 Rings gave our family legendary...
Some key differences between the comics and the film. Marvel introduced Shang-Chi's character for the first time in the comics in 1973, banking on the growing popularity for martial arts films starring Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee. It almost seems like poetic justice that now we get such a visual treat in the form of some amazing martial arts in the Shang-Chi film, minus much of the racial stereotypes that the comics had, because unfortunately, it was a product of its time. The credit of getting rid of much of this problematic aspect from the comics mostly goes to director Cretton, who voiced his concerns regarding them from the moment Marvel signed him on. Reports also confirmed that Marvel's team was more than willing to rid the hero's story of these stereotypes themselves, and only wished to preserve one thing, and that is the family dynamics of Shang-Chi. Needless to say, the whole team had done so brilliantly, portraying characters of Shang-Chi, his sister Chai Ling, his mother Ying Li, his aunt Jiang Nan, and his father Wen Wu, also known as the real Mandarin. Another huge difference between the comics and the film is seen in the form of the dragon. Yes, you heard that right. In the comics, the 10 Rings were stolen by Fu Manchu, changed to Wen Wu in the film, from the all-powerful dragon Fin Fang Foom. Many fans believed that the reason the rings are actually worn as bracelets in the film is because they would actually end up fitting like rings on much bigger fingers that belonged to the dragon. Unfortunately, not much history is given regarding when Wen Wu obtained the rings, but only what he did with them. We do not get Fin Fang Foom in the films either, but the makers did not completely deprive us of the chance to feel like kids again as we delve into the fantasy of dragons, thanks to the Great Protector. The trailer showed us a glimpse of this dragon, but it is so much more majestic when seen out of the water, using its air and water bending abilities and taking on the bad guys.
My son, you can't run from your past.
What are the 10 Rings? In the comics, the 10 Rings were stolen by Fu Manchu from a crashed alien ship that was made up of alien technology that gave its bearer godlike powers and made them impossible to defeat. Each of these rings is to be worn on specific fingers and have different powers. On the left hand, we have Ice Blast. The ring can lower an object or person's temperature to a freezing degree, and can even freeze the air in its path. It is to be worn on the little finger. Mento Intensifier. Effective only at a short range. This one allows the wearer to expand their psychic energy in order to mind control someone. It is to be worn on the ring finger. Electroblast. With no known upper limit, this ring allows the wearer to blast quantities of electrical energy as a weapon. It is to be worn on the middle finger. Flame Blast. It is evident from its name, the ring can ignite molecules of air, causing fire out of practically nothing, as it emits infrared radiation. It is to be worn on the index finger. White Light. Used frequently as laser beams, this ring can emit various types of energy from the electromagnetic spectrum, and it is to be worn on the thumb. Now, on the right hand. Black Light. Quite the opposite of white light, this ring absorbs all forms of light, creating an area of absolute darkness, and it is to be worn on the little finger. It is believed that this ring draws its energy from the dark force. Disintegration Beam. Perhaps the only ring that needs a recharge time. This ring has the ability to destroy bonds between atoms and molecules, which allow it to pretty much cause anything to literally fall apart. It is to be worn on the ring finger. Vortex Beam. This ring allows the wearer to levitate or jump inhumanly high, as it creates a vortex by swirling air at high speed. It is to be worn on the middle finger. Impact Beam. This ring, worn on the index finger, can project the force of around 350 pounds of TNT, along with intense sonic vibrations as well as magnetic waves. Matter Rearranger. Like the name suggests, this ring can rearrange atoms or molecules, or even slow down their movements, and it is to be worn on the thumb. In the comics, the alien Makalin tech is what the new rings are originated from, but in the film, no such indication is given yet. The mid-credit scene shows us some very prominent MCU faces trying to decipher the origin of the rings, and it seems as though fans might have to be a little more patient to get some real answers. More on that later, though. We also know that The Eternals, another Marvel project that is lined up for release this October, was initially supposed to hit theaters before Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. It is possible that the film might have some answers for us as to the origin of the rings, as it introduces some very powerful characters that have originated from other dimensions, similar to the soul-sucking monsters that were trapped in the cave at Talo. In addition to this, Shang-Chi has set the stage for some higher forces that Earthlings may have to battle in Phase 4 of the MCU. Episodes 1 and 4 of the Marvel series What If, that is currently airing weekly on Disney+, has given us a peek at some of these battles as well. As for the organization The Ten Rings, we know from previous movies that it is a criminal organization, and Shang-Chi has confirmed the same, and given us a rather horrific glimpse into what Wen Wu has done in order to build that empire and keep it going for 1,000 years. For anyone who is confused, it is the power of the rings that have allowed him to not age for so long, until he briefly chooses to put his family before his empire and power lust, after he meets the love of his life and Shang-Chi's mother, Li.
What happened to your shirt?
All I ever wanted was a normal...
Cast performance and the underdog that stole the show. Simu Liu might have been the best choice Marvel has made to introduce us as its first ever Asian superhero. The actor has surpassed all expectations and made a great role even better with his amazing performance. Liu's dedication to his work is reflected in not only the groundbreaking fight scenes that he has trained so hard for, but even the little moments of comedic timing, along with co-star Awkwafina. Even Menjar Zhang, who plays the role of Shai Ling, has wowed fans with her performance of a cold yet loving heart of a daughter who misses her mother, fears her father, and fiercely loves her brother. When it comes to fighting, we already know that it runs in the family. But what makes each of them so mesmerizing to watch is their unique style and the characters they portray with such sincerity. While Tony Leung's Wen Wu is a conqueror, the king of an empire he has spent many years to build, his wife, Ying Li, played by Fa La Shen, is graceful yet fearsome in her fighting. We see the two cross paths very early on in the film, but even within those very few moments, it is clear that we are seeing the contrast between two great fighters, who are staying true to their warrior side, yet simultaneously falling in love with each other. Michelle Yeoh's character, Ying Nan, is more rooted in Tai Lo's traditional fighting, giving Shang-Chi a heartwarming reminder of who his mother was and where she came from. The training scene we see as Shang-Chi learns from his aunt all the secrets of his mother's fighting makes the viewers feel that they are looking at the bond between an adult Shang-Chi that never got to share with his mom, as he lost her when he was too young. Turning now to Awkwafina, who plays Katie, the only non-fighter, and the one who does not quite fit in. We have previously seen the actor do many supporting roles as the comedic sidekick, which is why fans did not expect to see anything new this time around, as it is expected to do the same with Liu's character. But boy, did she outdo herself. And no, we're not talking about her taking down a literal giant soul-sucking Lovecraftian monster, but every single moment we got to watch her on screen.
Chi.
Shang.
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 Shan.
S-H-A-N-G. Shang.
That's what I said.
From her overexcited self that is happy to drive a sports car, to her being more than just impressed with Chai Ling's empire that she created at just 16. Awkwafina had truly been the star of the show that nobody expected. Luckily for us fans, we know that she is now too deep in the circus, as Bruce Banner puts it, to not be seen in upcoming Marvel projects, and we cannot wait to get more of her quirky Hotel California singing self. Beauty of each fight scene, along with the final battle, that made it all come full circle. To start this off, it is only fitting that we talk about the fight sequence that is shown to us in the film, as well as given a good enough peek at in the trailers. Shang-Chi versus Razor Fist and other Ten Rings operatives on a moving bus with failed brakes. This scene is the heart of how Shang-Chi first made its way to the Marvel Comics, as it plays homage to classic Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee fights, in ways that are not exactly easy to pinpoint, yet stare us directly in the face. We see our superhero trying to defeat Razor Fist in a rather claustrophobic space, as he simultaneously tries to protect any fellow passengers from harm. This is also where Katie learns that Sean is certainly hiding some big secrets. While the two fighters go head to head, there is certainly a rhythm to the way Shang-Chi moves, syncing along with the music that plays in the background of the scene and lining up the punches and kicks as he shows off his skills that his father had trained him for so that the men could not kill him if they tried. To lighten the mood, considering it's too early on in the film for anything serious, we have Katie driving the bus, and we know from one of the previous scenes of her going crazy with a sports car just how much she loves to drive. The scene comes to a halt with her having to drive over some very expensive cars as she links the bus to a trash truck driving next to her, informs the driver that they make a good team. Another great scene that was choreographed by the late Brad Allen, and it was mesmerizing to say the least, when Wenwu faces off against the first person to ever defeat him in battle. He does what any sane person would do. He falls in love with her. Ying Li and Wu's fight scene was nothing short of a dance between two lovers, as the two take moments in between to gaze upon one another lovingly. It is clear that the hardened criminal and the great conqueror could not hide how much of a soft corner he had developed for her within a matter of seconds. The scene involved a lot of spinning, not just horizontally but vertically as well, and this proved especially difficult for actor Fala Shen, who said she is new to this in comparison to the very talented and experienced Tony Leung. In an adorable interview, she also claimed that it was very hard for her to keep calm and remember her moves, while her gorgeous co-star was making constant eye contact with her. In Macau, we get to see something really weird. And yes, we are talking about the Wong and Abomination's surprising friendship, as they ride off into the sling ring circle together after Wong defeats him. But soon after, we got a glimpse of a fierce warrior, Shai Ling, who claimed that she trained herself to be better than her brother, because she was not allowed to train with him. Needless to say, she was not bluffing. The brother-sister duo are soon forced to put aside their differences when Razor Fist makes a comeback, this time with Death Dealer and more of the Ten Ring operatives, in order to capture Wu's children. They fight them off on the side of a high-rise building, falling from which meant certain death. Here we see Shang-Chi face off against the one who had trained him as a child, and it seems as though he has done some practicing of his own, as he is almost on the verge of defeating Death Dealer when Wu interferes. Coming to the creme de la creme of all fighting scenes in the film, let's talk about that final battle between Wu and Shang-Chi. We see him put on the 10 rings, like he doesn't care at all that his son stands before him. But Shang-Chi peaks as he combines his years of training, or learning how to kill a man, is infused with everything his mother had taught him, empowered by the magic of the dragon. The rings glow blue, because of the powers that help Wu fight off any enemy that he faces off against, while Shang-Chi's magic glows golden orange, because they're powered by his mother's spirit, metaphorically. Just like his mother once almost did, Shang-Chi is not only able to defeat his father, but even take the rings and make them glow his own golden orange, with nothing but the harnessing of his chi. This battle is even more of a visual delight because of Shang-Chi's dragon scale costume that matches with the gate of the cave that is made up of the same scales, while Wen Wu fights with his black and blue magic rings.
Those who came before us, who made us who we are today.
A brand new Avenger, and how the cameos connect Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings to the broader scheme of the MCU. It is safe to assume that Shang-Chi is going to be way up there on the list of the new Avengers that we will be getting throughout Phase 4 of the MCU, and its mid-credit scene just confirms this. We already know that Abomination and Wong have made their cameo fighting each other in Chai Ling's fighting ring, but the film's ending showed us that Wong has more to do with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings than we imagined. Taking Katie and Shang-Chi back to Kamar-Taj with him, Wong is seen analyzing the rings and trying to understand their origin. Shang-Chi informs him that his father had them for over 1,000 years, and is then told by Bruce Banner that the rings are definitely much older than that. Fans in the theater screamed with delight as Banner made a surprising return, and this time in his human form. Unlike the Hulk Banner form that he was seen in Endgame, his arm is still recovering from the blunt of the snap, and it is possible that the sorcerers might have helped him in returning to his human form, or it might have had something to do with his human soul out of the Hulk body. This could mean that something similar might have been used by Doctor Strange in order to help a friend out. After claiming that the rings are more than 1,000 years old, Banner also says that they are not made of vibranium, which means that it's possible that they have originated from alien tech. For this, he consults with a friend present, who is none other than Captain Marvel, also known as Carol Danvers. She says that this is not unlike any alien tech that she has seen before, such as the Chitauri. Soon after this, Carol and Banner disconnect the Holograph Project conference call, and Katie, Shang-Chi, and Wong take off to have a karaoke night. Before leaving, Banner tells Shang-Chi and Katie, "Welcome to the circus," likely referring to the constant battles that the heroes are fighting to keep the people of Earth safe. This could be an official nod to the fact that we have a brand new Avenger on board, and we are more than excited to see him pair up with the others. It has already been confirmed that Abomination and the Hulk will be returning for She-Hulk, which means we might get some more answers once the Disney Plus series starts airing. But, seeing as how the soul-sucking monsters from the film, along with the mythical creatures from Talo, look so similar to other dimensional beings, we might get some of those answers much sooner than we anticipated, with the release of the Eternals. That will hopefully bring us knowledge of some other dimensions. Speaking of which, WandaVision, Loki, Spider-Man No Way Home, as well as Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, has something in store for us with regards to the multiverse. It would be interesting to know if these pocket universes, like the Cave and Talo, will add up to the confusion and madness, or perhaps serve as their solution. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to send a like and subscribe to our channel, if you haven't already. For marvelous videos, I'm Rylan. Have a good one, and be safe.
My name is Shang-Chi.